Guten Tag. Willkommen im Olympiastadion.
Most visitors to the Olympic Stadium arrive by train. The Olympic Stadium is only half a kilometer from the entrance, and one would walk through the Coubertin Platz to the main entrance. The Imperial Sports Ground, now the Olympic Park, was created for the 1936 Summer Olympics, the Games of the 11th Olympiad. Berlin won the bid as a democracy over Barcelona, Spain in 1931. This was 2 years before the Nazis and Hitler came to power. When Adolf Hitler became Chancellor of Germany, he and his lieutenant, Mr. Goebbels, saw the Games as a propaganda tool to show that Germany was peaceful and had superior athletes. This sparked the beginning of the public acclaim of the supremacy of the Aryan race. Yet at the same time, Berlin was hosting the Olympics. Just 2 hours from Berlin, concentration camps were being built. A 2,400-meter horse racing track was demolished in 1934 to allow for the creation of a grand, full-scale, 130-hectare sports complex designed by German architect Werner Mark. The project included an Olympic Square, this Olympic Stadium for 110,000 spectators, which was the largest stadium in the world. A track field known as Mayfeld, intended as a marching ground for mass rallies of up to 500,000 people. Daniel James Brown writes that thousands of young German men swarmed over the site of another great public works project, this one in Berlin. Since Adolf Hitler had visited in the fall of 1933, the sprawling 325-acre site of the Reichssportfeld had been dramatically transformed. The adjoining racetrack had been torn down, and now more than 500 companies contracted by the Nazi state were at work preparing the site for the Olympic Games. And about the project was massive. The Great Bowl of the Olympic Stadium, its floor 42 feet below ground level, had been excavated and leveled, its central field sown with grass that was already lush and green. Daniel Brown writes, 136 evenly spaced square pillars had been erected around the perimeter of what would become a 2-story colonnade. Forms for 72 tiers of seating had been built, enough to accommodate 110,000 people. 17,000 tons of concrete were in the process of being poured into those forms. 7,300 tons of sheet metal were being welded together. Over 39,000 cubic yards of natural stone had arrived on the site, and hundreds of stonemasons were at work, with hammers and chisels, covering the exterior of the stadium with blocks of fine, ivory-colored Franconian limestone. The attendance at these Olympic Games were thought to be well over 100,000 spectators. Total ticket revenues were 7.5 million Reichsmark, generating a profit of over 1 million marks. The official budget did not include outlays by the city of Berlin, which issued an itemized report detailing it cost 16.5 million marks, or outlays by the German national government, which did not make its cost public, but is estimated to have spent $30 million. During World War II, when much of Berlin was destroyed, the Olympic Stadium was spared. One would ask, why was this? It's a very interesting answer. Allied pilots needed a landmark to site for bombing of Berlin. So the stadium served as a landmark for orientation on bombing missions, and thus was spared. West of the stadium, a vast, flat assembly area, the Mayfeld, had been leveled and a great limestone bell tower was being erected. The tower would eventually stand just over 248 feet tall. The great bell it would house would bear round its bottom edge an inscription sandwiched between two swastika, Ich rufe die Jugend der Welt. In English, I summon the youth of the world. And the youth would indeed come, first for the Olympics, and then for something else. Days of the Third Reich, scores of Hitler youth, boys as young as 10 or 11, would crouch below the bell tower among the blocks of fine Franconian limestone, the rubble of the buildings now being erected, shooting at advancing Russian boys, many of them not a great deal older than they. And in those last few days, as Berlin burned all around them, some of those German boys, those who cried or refused to shoot or tried to surrender, would be lined up against these limestone slabs by their officers and shot.